10-4 drivers, welcome to the Channel 19 Experience Trucker Podcast. This is where the real stories roll, straight from the blacktop.
Welcome, everybody, back to the show. I've got a couple amazing guests today to talk to. We've got Greg and Tiara Fetherson. You'll know them on social media. They're as the Fethersons on Facebook, on Instagram, and TikTok. And so they're owner operators, team drivers, business owners, parents. They've got their child with them on the road. So quite an adventure. Welcome to the show. Nice to meet you all.
Thank you. Nice to meet
going?
you. Thank you for having us.
Yeah, let's jump right in. I've been watching your social media and really interested to see how the dynamics of being on the road and you guys, you don't pull any punches. You share the good, the bad, the struggles, the fun, and it's really awesome to see. So what was it like getting transitioned into going over the road, Greg? And then how did it all come to be where y'all ended up on the road?
Well, yeah, to go back a little bit, I think for me, I just wanted something different. And I kind of got obsessed with this owner operator. I was searching on YouTube, looking at other people doing it. And something just came over me. I just want to do something different and do something that's going to be a better way to provide for my family financially. So I got obsessed. But my main thing was I wanted freedom. I wanted freedom. I wanted to take off when I wanted to, come home and see my family when I wanted to, this and that. So I did that, and
So, because his transition was from working for the city. He started out as the garbage man, and he wanted to jump into the owner operator role. But it's nerve-wracking to going from working for somebody, having a 9-to-5, to jumping out there being a business owner. But one thing I noticed about him is when he wants something, he becomes obsessed with researching it, figuring out the knowledge, understanding the loopholes, understanding the good, understanding the bad. I think he's really big on even understanding the bad, so we know how to get over it or how to conquer it. So I guess the first challenge for us was when he was leaving his city job, they were discouraging him. They told him, they said, well, the door is always open because we know you'll be back. And they even offered him a raise, like on his last day. He's never had a raise the whole time he was there. And they were like, you sure you don't want to take this raise? The raise was probably like, what, $1,500 or something like that for the entire year, right? And so he was like, no, I'm not taking it. I'm going to jump into this role. So it was really scary at first because we were uncertain of what, that would look like for us, especially because he had a 9-to-5 and I was a business owner myself. So now we're going into a full household of both of us being, full-time entrepreneurs, which was pretty scary, because that means that our work ethic would depend on how we could provide for our family, our son. So yeah.
And that was the thing too. Them trying to give me a raise, I knew that was, that's a test. Like, I need to go and do this. And so I did it. I didn't qualify for the first financial plan that we had for the truck. That was another test. So I'm seeing all these tests. Me realizing that right now, those tests was for me to keep going forward. So, but I was, assessed. So I did it. And then, I'm making money. I'm doing my thing. We profiting. And then something else came over me while I'm out there. I was going through it. I was, to be truthful, I was in the hole, about $3,000. Like, I was going through it. And, I got in touch back with God and stuff like that. Got back together, and then something else was missing. I was like, I'm kind of in the rat race because now I'm missing my family a lot.
Yeah.
So that was the transition for them to come out there. The plan was for her just to come on, for the family just to come on. I didn't tell her to drive or anything. She did that on her own, but I just wanted them just to be with me. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, and then that's what it is. They came on. And, you know, I was with my family every day. Of course, I'm knowing it's going to be challenges. We together every day. You know, the average family, when you think about it, mommy's going to work, daddy's going to work, son's going to school. So nobody's really having time to actually get to know each other, honestly. You know, average family. So that was in my head.
Yeah.
Like, no, I won't. We need to get closer because it's a lot going on. We need to get closer as a family, and why not be together with my family every day? It's going to be challenges, of course, but you know, we got through it. We got through it.
Yeah, he really didn't. When I went to the CDL school to get my CDL the first time, he had no idea. He was on the road, and I snuck and applied, and I was like, I don't even know if I can do this. So I was kind of like hiding it because I didn't want to, you know, go and then I didn't like it, or, you know, I just didn't know what it was going to feel like because I knew that I was walking into a world of a bunch of men. So that was another thing that was kind of intimidating for me. I'm like, this is, you know, this is different from me going from being a hairstylist. So he had no idea. So I went to the truck school, and they gave me like this test, you know, to see if I even knew anything about, you know, trucks. And she said, girl, you're the first person to pass this with all flying colors. She said, well, how do you know, parts of the truck? I said, well, my husband does have a truck. So, you know, sometimes he would show me things on the truck. So I was always paying attention. And then when I left there, I called him. I said, you're not going to believe what I just did. And he was like, what did you do? I said, I applied for trucking school. And it started from there. He had no idea. He told me that I just want you to come. You don't have to work, because I'm also a student. I was a student at the time. I was getting my master's degree. He's like, just focus on school. You know, you can homeschool our son and you don't have to drive. And I was like, that doesn't sound like a good idea to me, because I like to, if I can help you in any type of way, you know, I want to do that. But for me, I just wanted to be able to be an asset to him on the road, you know, and if we can make more money while doing it, then why not?
Yeah, for sure. So did you jump right into from working for the city to buying a truck, or at least purchasing a truck, or did you drive for somebody first?
Yeah, I actually drove for FedEx for 6 months.
Mm-hmm.
That was just for me because I really didn't know how to, you know, drive a sleeper. Honestly, I was, you know, in the daycare with FedEx. So I drove for FedEx for 6 months, and then once I got the feel for that, I was like, okay, I could drive over the road now. I know what a trailer feel like and this and that. So yeah.
Okay.
2 trailers. You was driving doubles.
Yeah, doubles actually.
He
jumped
from a garbage truck to driving doubles.
Yeah, that was a challenge itself. Honestly, bro, I did not know what I was doing. I just did it. You know what I'm saying? For FedEx and on operator, I just jumped out there. But I had that obsession again. I had that obsession. I knew I could do it. I knew I could do it, but it was just a learning curve.
Yeah, I mean, that's the part they don't tell you in this is, you know, a lot of the time, for quite some time, you're not going to know what you're doing, right? You're not going to be comfortable. You're going to be questioning yourself and what you're doing. And, you know, you just try to go slow, not do any damage, and figure it out as you go.
Facts. Yep. Facts. Yep.
All right. So, Tiara, you go to driver school, and then what's the plan? How are you guys thinking about the transition and what happens next?
So I was in school, you know, it takes about 6 weeks, something like that. And he agreed. He was like, well, while you're in school, I know you can't do hair as much, because I had a salon at the time. He was like, I'll just, you know, take care of everything, whatever you guys need, you know, because he was still on the road, you know. So after I finished school, I was getting offers from like companies, because they would like the teachers would tell companies, oh, I got this student. So I was the first one to pass the computer test in my whole class. I was the first one, because if you don't pass it, you can't come back. But I was like, I am not going to fail this test, because I am like the only girl in this class. Well, there were 2 of us. I am not going to be the one to fail this test. I cannot do it. So my husband was like, you need to get this app and you need to study. So I studied every single day, because I was like, I am not going to fail this. I passed and I went right back to school. And the guys were looking at me. They were like, you know, you don't come back until you pass. And I'm like, yeah, I'm here because I did pass. And so the teacher, one of the school directors, he pulled me in his office and he said, I have a guy that has a contract through FedEx, and he's willing to take students. And I told him that how amazing you were. And I said, well, how much is it? Because I told my husband, I said, if I can take this and just learn, I'll be all right. And my husband was like, I mean, you can look into it. And it was like 63 cents a mile. And I told my husband, and he was like, but then we would have to worry about our son, right? Like, where would he be if I'm driving the truck and my husband is driving the truck? He'll be separated from us. And I didn't like the idea of that. So my husband and I was like, we're just going to pray about it, because the company that he was contracted through, you had to have 2 years of experience. So that was another test. So I told my husband, I said, I think that we should try to figure out where we can both go and be together. Because with me having no experience, I don't know who's going to take me and you, because you have experience, but I don't. That was the challenge we faced. But we had our own truck. So we just kind of jumped out there.
We was even thinking about going with Swift.
Yeah, like we were, as company drivers, like we were willing to go a step backwards just so we could be together.
Yeah, and be together.
And he was willing to come out of the truck to make sure that I was okay. And the company that he was with, they love him so much because Greg is a hard worker. Anything you ask him to do, he's going to do it. He's a really good team player. So any job that he has, they do not want to lose him, because they know that he's not going to complain, and he's going to go, he's going to do it. If it's something new, he's going to try it. So he told them, and he said, look, my wife just got her CDL, and I want to be with my family. I want to go wherever she's going. He was willing to come out of there. And they said, no, tell your wife to apply. And I was like, babe, but I don't have the experience. And they were like, long as her driving record is clean. And for the record, I probably drive like a grandma. So my driving record was clean. And they were like, long as her driving record is clean, and they had never hired anybody with any experience until they hired me. They opened that door for us. So that was like the biggest blessing in our journey, because they were willing to take a risk with us. So I applied, I passed my drug screen. They were like, her driving record is clean, and they gave us a chance. And they told Greg that he was to train me. And for the first, 6 weeks, I had to do like most of the driving. I had to figure it out. That's what they told me. You're going to have to figure it out. So that was nerve-wracking for him, because he didn't know what my driving was like. So he didn't get a lot of sleep in the beginning. And for me, I didn't want to wake him, because I'm like, I don't want to bother him, So I was really figuring things out on my own, like a lot of the times.
Yeah, that was my training. Was I had to be quiet, honestly.
Yeah.
I had to let her do her. And, I said things here and there, but, that's how I learned. Nobody was telling me nothing. So, I just figured it'll work on her too as well. So,
yeah, but we had to learn not to take it personal, and to separate business from our relationship. I know that was a challenge for us in the beginning, right? Trying to just navigate, not taking it personal, not allowing it to affect our marriage, just leaving business at the door, and then being able to separate it and say, okay, I love you. I hope you have, just kind of doing
have a good day at work.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, it's a whole different challenge too, right? Of knowing how to do something and then playing the role of coach or instructor or something like that, right? I know personally, like with kids and learning to drive, and even, when I had my trucks, I couldn't teach other people. Like I didn't have the patience to teach other people.
Yeah,
that's him. But he's such a chill guy. Like he'll say it really. He'll say, boo, you should probably, when you back up, just keep rolling, things like that. And I'm like, oh, okay. Because I'm a fast learner, but he's not much of a, over talker. He's just kind of like, he's going to give you the main point, and then you go from there.
Gotcha. But then internally, right? Your mind, Greg, is going a mile a minute, I'm sure.
Oh yeah. I'm in the back just throwing stuff, man. Like, come on. But yeah, that taught me a lot too. I had to have a lot of patience. She was brand new, so I had to get that through my head. So yeah.
And our first trip, they didn't treat us like we were brand new. Our first trip, I'll never forget it. It was from Kentucky to New York, and we had to go through West Virginia, and the load was 40,000 pounds. I'm like, this is not fair. Like, and I had to do most of the driving. I was like, I don't know if this is for me, because those, West Virginia is curvy. It has mountains, and we were carrying some metal.
Mm-hmm.
It was like, it's like they just said, all right, let's see what you got. And just, and then that wasn't it. Like, they made that like our load. So we had that load like 2 to 3 times a week. So it really was like a test for us, for sure. And it had a time, it was time sensitive. So it had to be there, at a certain time, every time.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
I forgot about that.
Yeah, that was a crazy load.
Yeah, I mean, I like how you guys put it with the tests, right? And the various tests along the journey, because it tests you all the time.
Yeah.
Whether you're ready or not, whether you had a chance to study, the test is coming.
Exactly.
And you find out what you're made of. And also you find out what the people around you are made of. Like when you talked about what your company did, there's the rules, and then there's the rules for people who are special.
Right.
And for the companies that are special, right? It takes a combination of all those things to sometimes make the rules go away for the right situation. So it's cool to hear that, there's, I mean, on social media, you hear a lot of complaining about the companies that don't do the things like your company did, but there's a lot of them out there who do it. It just doesn't get talked about a lot, right?
Yeah. That's a really good point. Yeah, that is a good point.
And I like to emphasize the test because, if you really want it, you're going to get tested, point blank, period. Like, and a lot of people, they stop at the test. They turn around at the test. And I just believe, like, if you look at it in the way that's, okay, I need to get through this. I need to figure it out. You'll be successful. You'll be successful.
And you find out where the difference between talking about it, which is the easy part,
Right,
and being willing to do it and to push through the test, right? Because that's where a lot of, I mean, talking's easy, and it's one thing with my boys especially, like it's easy to say something, right?
Yeah.
I'm gonna play football in the NFL, or I'm gonna, go to this college. And it's like, well, are your choices today reflective of that? Because if they're not, then you need to give up. One of the two things needs to change. Either you need to stop talking about something that you're not going to put in the effort for, or you need to start putting in the effort towards the thing you're talking about.
Yeah,
exactly. Yes, that's exactly how our test was.
Either do it or turn around.
Yeah, either you do it or you turn around. And sometimes you can't turn around, right? Sometimes you have to go through it just to see what it's like on the other side.
Yeah, and sometimes the tests are long.
Yeah.
For a season.
Sometimes tests last a season. You're right. Yeah.
For sure. So were you already homeschooling your son before he came on the road with you, or
no, he was in a private school. And then with him, his journey is interesting too, because when he started school, COVID happened. So I was homeschooling him for, that year or two, right? And then he went back to school, and he did fine when he was in school. He was at a nice private school. So it was a transition for him to go from, a private school to online, homeschool. And it was a test for me as well, because I was also in school getting my master's degree at the same time. So yeah, just imagine I'm a student, he's a student, but we're learning together. But what I most appreciated about it was I could take him at his pace, everything didn't have to be so drawn out. If there was something that he understood, we can move on to the next thing. If there was something he didn't quite understand, then I can help him. I could guide him. I could figure out his learning style. I really learned a lot about my child through, being his teacher, his primary teacher. And a lot of people think, oh, well, homeschool is easy. It is not, because he's actually enrolled into an online academy. So I am his primary teacher, but when his work is submitted, another teacher grades it, in a sense. So it has to be up to, their standards, and he has to go through certain tests and all of those things. So it really challenges him, but I feel like he's grown so much as a student. I feel like when he was in school, he was distracted by, the things kids get distracted by, other students,
so and so, and all of these things. So he was really able to just focus on getting what he needed, and we were able to kind of give him a routine too. So he's doing good. He's growing.
Yeah, and that's one of the challenges I think for kids, any of us really, which is if the pace is too slow for us, we get bored, and then our mind waters, and then we don't perform well in those situations either, even though it comes easy to us, and when it's challenging, who's going to slow down to help you get through the challenging part at the pace that you need to. So
Yes.
well,
yes.
one thing you mentioned, Greg, was it really resonated me both sides of it come into play, which is like the time that you spend with your family, right? There's a challenge that comes with being together in an enclosed space
Right.
a lot of the time, but also the dynamic too when you're not together. And my family, I grew up more in the and especially before there was the internet, right? Where dad would leave for a week or two, and you may get to talk to him for 5 minutes on a phone call back when long distance cost a lot of money.
Right.
And but then he would come home, and you have this whole dynamic shift, right? Of okay, we've got a person who's normally never here, and now they come home, and and the whole universe shifts to being revolving around them, whether it was the truck and cleaning and maintaining the truck, whether it was my mom and dad trying to rekindle a relationship after being apart. And even with the kids, we're like, I don't know how, like, I don't remember how to react with this person, and what irritates them, or how to have a conversation. So really cool. I mean, you really get to see the difference between lifestyles when you're together as opposed to being apart in this business.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was my thing, man. Like, I didn't want to miss out on nothing. I know my son was growing up. I want to teach him things, you know what I'm saying? And I also wanted to get closer to with her. We challenges gonna come here, gonna come and go. But I think the main thing with couples, we need to learn how to figure it out. And I think we was at a stage where we didn't know how to solve things. And, husband and wife, and my son, I really just wanted to get to know him more. Like, yeah, that's my son. We together, but I think my thing was just being together every day. We could figure out each other. They know my moves. They know my moves now, and I know their moves. I know, what I'm saying? I know when they in a good mood, bad mood. Like, I think that was my thing. That was my biggest thing.
I think the biggest thing too was when he transferred from working for the city. You got to realize when he worked for the city, he saw our son every day, every single day. Even when he worked for FedEx, he saw him every single day. Like, they have a really great bond, and he loves his dad. So when he went over the road, it was like his world turned upside down.
Yeah, that was another thing.
That was another thing. His world, he never got used to it. It's like his first year that he was on the road, he was at the same school. The next year, the teachers was like, he's not the same, happy kid. I'm like, well, his dad is on the road. I think he's just adjusting, but he never got used to his dad being gone. Never. So that was another reason why I was like, babe, I think it'll be good for all of us to go with you as well too. Because for my son, like, once he was with his dad again, he was like back to being the same kid. So that was an interesting dynamic to see too, was how it affected our son once he was gone too.
Yeah. I didn't think about it now. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a big impact. I don't think I even really understood it as much as I do, except for our granddaughter. We've got a couple grandkids, and our Indigo, our, let's say, middle granddaughter, her older sister moved away. She went to take a job in Hawaii. And similar thing, right? Behavioral changes. Because, she's 3 years old. She doesn't know how to express it, right? Other than just, acting out in different ways, right? And you can tell that, they're not processing it well, or they're dealing with something, but you don't really know what. And it took a little bit for everybody to figure out, and, that she misses her sister, right? My sister was here every single day, and now she's not, right? And so, kids, kids,
they process things very differently. For us, we can say, oh, I miss my husband, right? For kids, it just shows up so differently, and we have to pay close attention to their behavior. how they, express themselves, because kids can experience sadness or depression. It just shows up a little bit different, like acting out or not sleeping as much or just changes in their attitude. It's like, why are you so grumpy all the time?
Yeah.
Those changes are really big changes in kids though. Yeah.
Yeah, it looks like he's having a ton of fun in the videos and stuff, sharing with you guys. And I mean, when you think about the modern classroom, right? Sitting at a desk, somebody talking at you all day long. I mean, how much more fun would it be to have adventures and
Yeah.
discussions and see the real world and a variety of things, not just your little space, but seeing the country and the differences that exist. So yeah, I'm jealous. I want to go. I want to be 10, I want to be 10 again and go right around.
I'm telling you.
And he's 10 too, but we try to make it still educational, right? Every state we go to, it's like, what's the capital? Where are we at?
Yeah.
And it's crazy to see at 10, like sometimes he wakes up, he looks out the window, he's like, oh, we're in Arkansas, and then he'll go back to sleep. And then he wakes up again, we're in Texas, and then he'll go back to sleep. So that's really interesting too, to see that over the, years that we've been out there, he knows, where we are at all times. He can tell you.
Yeah, at first it was a challenge for him because he was used to the school environment, but being on the truck every day is definitely a big adjustment. But he finally grateful for it. He's grateful for it. Even when he get older, he'll look back and be like, yeah, I was living life.
Yeah, but we try to not make it all work for him. Like our dispatch knows how we like to run. So on Sundays, we do not drive. Saturdays and Sundays, we don't drive. If we're somewhere, and they send us to areas to where it's kid friendly, so we can get out and walk, go to the movies, go here or go there. So that's one thing we really appreciate about the company that we're with, because they consider him. So they're like, we know you guys like to, do stuff as a family on the weekends, and that's what we do. We get out, we go here, we walk there. So a lot of people are like, why? That's not fun for him. I'm like, y'all don't even realize. Like he plans our weekends, honestly. He's like, where are we going? And we're like, we'll be in Waco, Texas. Okay, I want to go to Main Event or whatever.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Well, I mean, whether it's your marriage, whether it's your relationship with your kid, and also whether it's your relationship with the company that you work for, it's about a relationship and understanding each other and caring enough to do what you can do to make it work, right?
Yeah.
Figuring it out.
Yeah. And that's another thing, because I feel like I learned that from my husband, because we're adaptable people, right? If they ask us to do something, we don't have a problem doing it, right? As long as it makes sense and we're making a profit. We are not people to complain at all by any means. So that was another thing that worked in our favor, because we're team players. They would throw us loads left and right? Like, you guys want this? They would call us first, right? You guys want this? You guys will take this. So that allowed us to be, profitable in a sense, because we would get really good loads because of relationships, right?
Yeah.
And once we built those relationships, the brokers were like, Tiara and Greg available for this load, so it just kind of kept continuing to roll, like for us. Like we stayed, on great loads, great paying loads because of that. So that was good too.
Got a dedicated lane. Yeah, they was throwing us at the beginning. They was throwing everything.
Yeah,
we just taking everything, like Texas to Massachusetts, and like, you know what I'm saying, real long drive, 32 hours and stuff. Like
even if we didn't, it wasn't ideal. Like, we don't really want that, but we were ready to, take it on, because we understood that something better could come next. So.
Yeah, I think that's one of the challenges that folks face. I mean, I was on the dispatcher and fleet manager side for some big companies too, and along with owning my own trucks. And a lot of people want to go, what's in it for me, right out of the jump, right? And I mean, the relationship you build with whatever company you're with, being willing to be a team player, if you're at the right place, it comes back to you, right?
Exactly.
If it doesn't come back to you, then you need to evaluate the how they view the relationship with you. But if you're paying it forward and they're paying it forward, it just establishes, I guarantee you, for anybody doing the approach like you're talking about, those people in that office know, those dispatchers know, everybody knows when it's time to make sure you get what you need, they remember all those times where you paid
Yep.
it forward first,
Yeah.
and they make it happen, right? They figure it out because they know how valuable it is to have a team player who isn't going to be like, nah, I don't want to do that one. Right?
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. That's true.
And I didn't look at it like that way. I look at it like we need the money, honestly. But
That
you know,
too.
we rarely turn down loads.
Yeah.
We rarely turn down loads. Like
See, you got all that freedom, and now you don't even turn down the loads.
right, right, bro. Right, right. But it's been a incredible journey, man. It was worth it. Everything we went through, it was worth it. Honestly, it was worth it, man.
Yeah, and I mean the part that's coming now, I think, in the videos and Tara, and your post too is, what's next, right? Now that you've went through a series of tests and you've got to some level of success, now it's a different set of challenges, right? Figuring out how do we grow our success beyond just the immediate, how much did I make per mile and spend per mile on this load, which is, accumulating wealth and building it, is really interesting to see because like we were going back and forth in the comments, right? Like nobody teaches, especially if you didn't grow up from let's say a position of success already in your family,
Right.
who's going to teach you how to do what comes next after you fight through just surviving?
No, really. And that's interesting that you bring that up because we haven't even publicly talked about what's next for us.
Oh yeah.
So that's interesting because we just did our last load over the road.
Yeah.
When was that? Today is
Friday. It was Friday.
Friday. We did our last OTR load Friday.
Yeah.
And so Greg is taking, well, we got a local contract. So
with
he's
the ports.
with the
intermodal.
ports. He's doing intermodal.
Yep. So,
He and I just graduated from grad school last week. So he's gonna be, working the ports and I'll be
at home.
at home.
Yeah.
Breaking news.
Yeah.
Congratulations. That's amazing.
Yeah.
So you're going to run your own truck pulling intermodal? Or?
Yep. Truck paid off, so why not do something local? Give my family a break. My son, he gonna love it, so he excited. But yeah.
So is he gonna go back to school?
Yeah, put him back in school. Yeah, give him a social life. He really needs a social life. Like
Outside of Fortnite.
You think we his friends, yo.
Outside of Fortnite. And then for me, I just got my degree to become a marriage and family therapist. So
she's gonna be taking on clients.
Yeah, I'll be seeing clients and doing content.
From home.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, that's phenomenal. I can't wait to see what comes next out of all that.
Yeah. And we got a big meeting after this, so everything's unfolding the way we want it.
It worked out. It worked out 2 years. They did 2 years. I did 4 years over the road. But yeah, I was already burnt out when they came, honestly. But I just kept it pushing, man. Kept pushing, because
that's a grind, and you got to find your inspiration and your drive one way or the other, right? And all the things you guys have accomplished really is a testament to that, right? Your just willingness to do whatever it took together and be adaptable and turn it into success.
Yeah. And being willing to sacrifice a little bit for the long term, right? Just being able to get outside of our comfort zone for 2 years really put us ahead to where we wanted to go. Just, being willing to just minimize, right? Because for me, I was big. We had a house that was 2,800 square feet. So like we were, used to, like space from each other. My husband had I had an office downstairs. He had another, we all had our own space. Like we had a bedroom together, but we just had so much space that sometimes we didn't see each other for a whole day, just willing to come out of that comfort zone and say, you know what, for 2 years, we're just going to buckle down and we're just going to keep grinding, right? Keep going until we can get to where we want to get. And so it's crazy to sit here full circle and say we got to where we wanted to get, within those 2 years.
That was the thing. Yeah, we had to minimize. Minimize was the biggest thing. Minimize spending. Minimize, everything, honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
your
go
energy,
this,
your effort,
right,
your
yeah,
what you give
yeah,
time to and what you have to say, no, I don't have time for that.
right, yeah,
Not even that.
Yeah.
We were able to save because if you think about it, we're on the road together, right? If we're sticking it out, we're on this truck and we're, together. We need food, we need fuel for the truck. We pack our clothes, we don't have, we cut our bills significantly, like down, oh my God, like 75% down. We cut
yeah.
our bills.
A lot of people don't know, but we was renting the house. We got rid of it.
Mm-hmm.
We got rid of it, and we was just, on the truck.
Yeah.
On the truck full time, honestly.
But not even that, we even minimize, like when we paid ourselves, we put it back into an investment account because we didn't need the money because all of our bills were paid with like one, within like 2-3 loads, all of our monthly bills are paid, right? So the rest of the money, we can just save it, just save it, just save it. We didn't have to spend on anything. Phone bills, that's business expense. So mostly living on the road, storage, our storage. So we were able to cut all of that for 2 years and save to get to where we want to go. So
yeah, that's how you get ahead in this world,
Yeah.
right? You got to
Yeah.
sacrifice something and put in the work and you can get ahead.
Yeah.
But you got to make those choices every day.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. It's an everyday choice, and we just had to keep remembering, why are we here? What is this for? And it's for, it's for where we want to go. We didn't want to stay where we were, right? Stay stuck with, barely getting by or, just, I don't know. In trucking, surviving. And in trucking, especially as a family, every day looks the same. No day looks, the same. For most people, they wake up, go to work, come home, cook, which is fine, right? But for us, we just wanted to get outside of that.
Do something different every day.
Yeah, and it paid off.
Yeah, it was
Yeah,
worth
you
it.
definitely.
It was
You
worth
definitely did something different. I mean, all the things that you guys had going with your son learning and you continuing to go to school and managing a business and doing social media content and hauling freight, that's almost like a side business with all the other stuff you had going on. But,
Right.
it was the main business. But, it's wild to see what a couple of amazing people can accomplish.
Yeah.
And that was the main thing. Like, bottom line, we just wanted freedom and be together. It wasn't about the money.
Yeah.
We knew the money was gonna come, but when you have like certain values or certain morals and principles that you follow, like freedom, peace, togetherness, like everything else will follow.
Yeah. Then the money comes effortlessly. It really wasn't about the money. Initially we just wanted to be together. He didn't even want me to drive. So that's how it wasn't really about money for us. We just wanted to change the way we were living for a little while.
Yeah. Well, it's awesome. Congratulations on all that you guys accomplished and also, best wishes for the things that are coming up next. Sounds awesome. And continue chasing all your dreams. It's amazing.
We appreciate you so much.
Appreciate it, man. First podcast, man.
Yeah.
Awesome.
You.
Take care, y'all.
You too.
Appreciate it, man.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye.
This has been the Channel 19 Experience. If it's about trucking, we're talking about it. All uncut. The wild stuff, the weird stuff, the mistakes, the memories. But we talk about the world of trucking today, too. Everything from legislation to lane changes in the industry. We got it covered. Thanks for listening to the show. If you enjoyed it, make sure to like, rate, and review. We'll be back at the ranch soon, but in the meantime, hit us up on social media at Channel 19 Experience and the website at www.channel19experience.com. That's channel and the numbers 19. See you down the road.